Welcome back to the county seat. You may have heard about it recently. Last April, Lonnie Johnson was released from the Utah State Hospital after judges determined that he was not competent to stand trial. Why was he released? Well, there is a loophole in the state law that defines carefully what kinds of mental illness crimes constitute a harm to the community. The crime he committed was not part of that definition. However, everybody in the community feels that it should have been.
When the judge's gavel echoes through the courtroom after a criminal proceeding, we all hope that justice has been served. But in the case of Lonnie Johnson, a convicted sex offender released just last month from the Utah State Hospital, justice seems to be in a state of confusion.
Well, as we currently sit right now, the civil commitment law is flawed.
Under Utah's civil commitment law, a person can be institutionalized if they are found to present a substantial danger to themselves or others. Now, this usually translates to murder or more permanent physical harm. Unfortunately, sexual assaults are precluded from the statute as it currently stands. And that is where Lonnie Johnson comes in. He was convicted of sexual assault and new charges were being brought against him. The problem is that according to court documents, he suffers from an unspecified cognitive disorder that renders him incompetent to stand trial for those charges. The catch-22 is that he has since been deemed no longer a danger and released back into society without having to face any new criminal proceedings.
That narrow, restrictive definition doesn't take into account the broad range of crimes. We're talking about sex offenses against children, rapes of adults, things like that, emotional distress that you're causing upon children, and that's what we're seeking to change.
I'm not so sure that there actually is a loophole. I think the mental health law, the civil commitment law, works really well for what it is intended, and that is really to safeguard individuals who are a potential danger to self or others from acting out in the community and give them the treatment they need. It's not designed to really work with individuals or keep individuals out of society who have potentially criminal intent.
Here with Mr. Johnson, competency was found to not be competent and not likely to be restorable to competency. The law then says you have to release him, keep the case open. The only thing you can do is then apply for a civil commitment under those circumstances. That's why this is something that's really grabbed the nation's attention and Utah County's attention, because this seems just so out of the ordinary for this to happen, to have such a gap in the law. And I suspect if this had happened before, we would have closed this gap 6 or 7 years ago. So that being said, I don't want another Lonnie Johnson. We're trying to get this to be run the first of next year with the next legislative session.
Craig Johnson, a deputy Utah County attorney, has been working on draft legislation for the past 2 months to bring before the 2012 legislative session. But there are potential problems with broadening the law, according to mental health professionals.
The civil commitment law is not designed to necessarily keep individuals that may have criminal intent locked up in a treatment facility. Otherwise there would be a lot of people that could be committed under that law.
That would also lead to a larger financial strain on county governments, a fact to which legislators will be paying extra close attention to next year. No one wants to see justice undone by technicalities, but at the same time, no one wants to see our rights as American citizens to due process taken away either. The balancing act will be to avoid making the fixes to the current civil commitment law too broad, while at the same time closing the existing gaps.
We need to act in the best interests of society, and this is something where it can be a relatively minor fix to broaden this definition, not be so restrictive, and then how that computes with how many people are then going to be civilly committed.
The community mental health system is really not equipped to provide the security and safety, the care and supervision for individuals like that. Usually the individuals we see civilly committed, they might be very suicidal, they may have command-type hallucinations that tells them to harm somebody else or engage in some criminal act. So clearly their criminal actions are incidental to the mental illness rather than the other way around.
The most important thing for the public to know is that we're doing everything that we can to think outside the box, to reevaluate how we approach the civil commitment law and its interplay with the competency, so that there is some common sense in addition to fundamental fairness and due process to Mr. Johnson and others who are similarly situated.
Changing state law is never as easy as it appears, but we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. For the county seat, I'm Malia Bascom.
We will be discussing the challenges of changing the law to prevent loopholes from happening in the future or people skirting the system. And we will have that discussion right here on the county seat when we come back.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Come get away for 2 days of fun on June 24th and 25th for Mighton Days. There will be a parade, barbecue, talent show, vendors dancing, car show, and a horseshoe competition. Bring your friends and family to enjoy some good old-fashioned fun in downtown Mighton. Duchesne County. Close enough for business, far enough to get away.
If you look up epic in the dictionary, it's defined as heroic, majestic, or impressively great. Here in Kane County, Utah, we don't need a dictionary to tell us that. We live it every day. Stop reading about life and start experiencing it in Kane County. ATV adventures, Jeep excursions, hike a world where the Old West was yesterday and tomorrow is just over the horizon. Kane County, Utah, where epic is more than just a word, it's our way of life.
What are the words that describe the perfect destination? Finding them all in one place is easy if you know where to look. Rodeo fans, come and enjoy a PRCA rodeo event and cheer on your favorite cowboys. June 9th through the 11th at the Days of the Old West Rodeo at the Millard County Fairgrounds in Delta, Utah. Pick your adventure in Millard County, Utah.